What's up, guys? Just wanted to jump on here and make a quick video about why I don't think NFTs are viable investments. I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and yeah, I don't want to make a too long of a video, but at the same time, I want to explain a lot of details behind each one of these points as to why it's not a good investment, especially right now, right? So the first thing you got to think about is proof of work. And I'll explain what that is in just a minute, but this is the main thing. One of the main reasons why Bitcoin is the only superior cryptocurrency out there, the only one. And keep in mind, guys, Bitcoin and crypto is not the same. You know, Bitcoin and NFTs are not the same. So, and we'll talk about why in just a minute, okay? So proof of work, remember that word, okay? So now let's talk about that. What does that mean? When Bitcoin was created, the anonymous creator, Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto himself, no one knows who he is. He created this thing that he basically put together a lot of different concepts in such a genius way that it solved what's called a double spend problem. Okay, so what is the double spend problem? The double spend problem is a very well known and pretty much uncrackable dilemma that was going on the digital realm, on the internet, that no one found a solution to. Because in order to create a digital form of money, you have to solve this double spend problem. Now, let's talk about what that is. A double spend problem is when I send you a file. Let's say I'm Danny and I'm sending Sam a file, right? If I send that file to you, there's no way for you to know that I didn't keep a copy of that file myself. So even though I have only one file, if I email that file to you, there's no guarantee on your side that I no longer have that file, that you're the only one with the file, because that's how the digital world works. When I send you an email of something, of an attachment, of a notepad, or of a picture, or a file, or a song, all I'm doing is copy and pasting. All I'm doing is sending you a duplicate, a copy of whatever I have. So there's no way for you to know that I don't have that anymore. So that's the problem with trying to create digital money, is that if Alex send Sam $1 online, there's no way for Sam to know that, man, he won't send that same dollar to another person, right? Because he basically still has that dollar. He's just duplicating dollars at this point, and that's not what money represents, right? Money has to be scarce, and money has to, represent the basically a ledger that shows who owes what, how much, and that's why it takes the government, which is a third party, in order to be in the middle and basically overseeing each one of these transactions and say, yeah, Alex, you sent Sam $1. You don't have that dollar anymore. You can't try to send the same dollar to Carol, for example, right? So, but then that creates a problem now, because you have a middleman, and you're giving this middleman too much power. And that's the basic of why Bitcoin is so powerful, is because it eliminates the middleman. It eliminates the government in the middle. They have no say in who has what. They have no control over the supply of the money, because we don't give them that power, because this technology solved the double spend problem, right? So how do we solve that double spend problem? How do we create something? How do we make digital scarcity? And I think that's the main word of this topic here, is digital scarcity, right? How did Satoshi Nakamoto create a concept, or a group of different concepts of programming, of cryptography? How did he create a mechanism that can enforce digital scarcity in order to make sure and verify that if Alex sends Sam one Bitcoin, Alex no longer has that one Bitcoin to send to someone else, because that would be considered fraud, right? That would be considered, it's just not going to fly in the real world. So how does he do that? Well, that's a very extensive explanation in itself. It's kind of like you asking me, how does a car work, right? I can't really break it down to the nitty gritty unless, you sit down with me for maybe hours. But it doesn't matter, because you know that the car works. So you use the car, but you don't know how it works, right? Under the hood, you don't know every single compartment, every single engine. You don't need to know that, right? But just for the sake of this video, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay, why does that work? Well, every time that let's say Alex has 10 Bitcoin, okay, and Alex wants to send Sam one Bitcoin, right? every time that transaction takes place, now Alex only has 9 Bitcoin, right? And Sam now has 1 Bitcoin. So the reason why all of this works and all of this is verified and stamped basically on the blockchain is because Bitcoin uses this mechanism called proof of work. Now, what that does is basically we have all of these powerful miners in the world. What is my Bitcoin mining and how does it work? Okay, it's how Bitcoin get introduced into circulation, how the process of transaction is verified. And it does this by solving extremely complicated math problems. And that requires a lot of power, a lot of electricity, a lot of resources, millions and millions and billions of dollars every year are spent on Bitcoin mining in order to enforce these transactions. So each one of these transactions right here, let's say Alex sent Sam 1 Bitcoin, he went from having 10 Bitcoin to 9 Bitcoin. Each one of these transactions is stamped into the blockchain and it just stacks on top of one another. And you can verify every single one of these transactions since the beginning of the Bitcoin network back in 2008. You can verify all the way back to the very first transaction where Satoshi Nakamoto himself sent to, I think Hal Finney was the first person that he sent the first load of Bitcoins to. You can still track that down and it's written in basically timestamped and verified and blocked into the blockchain to where you cannot go back and change it. You cannot modify it. You cannot replicate it. You cannot corrupt it. It's basically locked into space, into the ether, into the network itself. Okay, so that's basically how it works. Is that a bunch of miners all around the world, billions and billions of dollars worth of mining electricity and power are being used to verify each one of your transactions. If I just send 1 Bitcoin to you, or even 0.0001 of a Bitcoin to you, that transaction has to be verified by miners all around the world, and they have to put a stamp of approval on it. But after expending so much energy just to prove that, man, okay, your transaction is valid, and we'll put it into the blockchain so that you can be sure that Alex didn't just send 10 Bitcoin to Sam and then send that same 10 Bitcoin to Carol or someone else, because that would be the double spend problem. So then Bitcoin uses proof of work, the expenditure of heavy amount of electricity and resources in order to verify this. That's the only way it can be done. That's the only way. And that's why Bitcoin is the only true cryptocurrency, because it's the only one that doesn't require a third party to overlook everything, which, basically gives the power to the third party. So it doesn't require that. And it basically does this on its own, meaning that no matter what happens in the world, the Bitcoin network has been working every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, a new block gets added to the blockchain without fail, and no one can stop it. No one can control it. No one can corrupt it. It just works. It's like a living organism that just never stop breathing. And when it breathes, it creates new transactions. It's a beautiful marvel of creation that Satoshi Nakamoto himself, created and gave to the world. So that's the mining network. Now, how does the mining, all of these transactions are basically a full node, okay? So Bitcoiners, they do this thing where they run full nodes, where each person run their own node on a copy of the entire blockchain that's locked into space, and they keep a full node that updates every single 10 minutes. So what that means is they have a copy of the ledger of everything that has happened since the beginning. They have a copy of it compacted into this small little thing that looks like this. And they all have one. And if you look at this global Bitcoin node distribution, you're going to see there's almost 15,000 nodes around the world, and there's probably a lot more than that. It's just these are the ones that are you can actually see. As you can see, they're all around the world. That's why it's so decentralized, meaning that even if you try to take out all the nodes in the United States right here, it doesn't matter, because there's all these nodes in China, and as long as one node still remains, everyone can come back and create copy of that same node and keep the Bitcoin network running as usual without any interruption. So you can't kill Bitcoin, basically. Even if one government or 5 government or 10 governments try to come up and collude and try to, tag team and try to come up with a way to destroy Bitcoin, they can't, because As long as there's one node anywhere in the world, the Bitcoin network lives on. So that's what the proof of work is. The proof of work is the amount of energy that's been spent to verify that these are valid transactions. These are valid entities that are transacting on the network, and it only works with Bitcoin, meaning that you can't use the Bitcoin mining network to verify Ethereum. You can't verify Solana, Dogecoin, none of that. Only Bitcoin works on this network, right? And that's what proof of work is. So if you want to compare that to jiu-jitsu, for example, right? I love jiu-jitsu. I'm a practitioner of jiu-jitsu. I'm just a blue belt, but basically I found this analogy with jiu-jitsu, right? When it comes to jiu-jitsu, we have black belts, right? And as we all know, the black belt is probably the most coveted black belt in the entire world of martial art. Why? Because it takes the longest to achieve. It takes the longest to get that black belt. And if you have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the whole martial art world pretty much acknowledge you as, okay, you put in the work, and there's no denying that. And it carries some very real value in that black belt, right? But it takes at least 10 years to get a black belt. So that 10 years that each person spent to get that black belt, that's their proof of work, meaning that they put in the work in order to get that black belt, and they can verify that with one another, right? This is my professor Robinho and Leo Vera, the two black belts, right? And this is all the black belts that were at my last belt promotion. And each one of these individuals, you can look at them as one full node. They talk to each other and they verify each other's black belts. So if you have a guy that just shows up out of nowhere and say, hey, I'm a black belt, they're going to be tested by all of these individuals all around the world. Every jiu-jitsu organization, every jiu-jitsu gym in the world will test that guy and verify whether or not he's really a black belt. And we'll know right away, clearly, because you can't fake it, right? You can't fake it. So now, just think of all these black belts as full nodes. Each one of these guys and their gym members and their organizations and all the jiu-jitsu practitioners that associated with them is a full node. It's like a Bitcoin full node. They talk to one another and they verify. They verify to see, oh, is this guy legit? This new guy that just walked into my gym and said that he's a 5-year black belt. Let's see if he's real or not. Oh, he said he's a purple belt. Let's see if he has the skill to match that of a purple belt. And if not, then we'll let it be known and we'll expose him, right? So basically, the jiu-jitsu network, the black belt, is basically the proof of work that it takes to get the black belt. And each one of these nodes, the Bitcoin nodes, represent one black belt all around the world that can verify and talk to one another in order to prove that this black belt is legit. Now, the problem with NFTs is that there's no such thing as proof of work. There's no such thing. Anyone can mint an NFT on a particular blockchain that they choose. Usually it's on Ethereum, right? But then now they're doing it on Solana. And next thing you know, they're going to do it on, Ethereum Classic, all these different blockchains. They're going to come up with ways to create new NFTs. And it's just like, it's kind of like a brand new martial art. Let's say I come up with a new martial art called the Danny Jitsu, right? And all of a sudden, I'm giving out black belts. I'm giving out black belts left and right. And how do you know if that black belt even means anything? You don't, because there's no one to verify it. I'm the only Danny Jitsu in the world. So how would anyone in the world can verify that, hey man, that black belt is legit? That's the proof of work. Like who's gonna tell me that, I didn't earn my black belt in Danny Jitsu? No one, right? Because there's no network, there's no proof of work, there's no history behind it. So that's the main distinction, the main reason why NFTs is just bullshit. It's just basically a bubble, and it's being hyped up to be this thing that it's not, right? Because if you're gonna use blockchain, the word blockchain itself, you have to have proof of work. You have to have what Bitcoin has, which is an extensive network of miners and full nodes that continuously verifies with one another in order to prove that this guy is legit, this guy is legit, this transaction is legit, this transaction is legit, this black belt is legit, this black belt is legit. If not, what's the point? And the NFT does not have that. It doesn't have a proof of work mechanism. There's no way that you even know that this guy is a real black belt or not, right? So that's the first point. Let's go to the next. Wash trading. Now, what does that mean? Well, back when people used to sell stuff in auction, there used to be this thing called a buddy system where I'll take a buddy with me and he'll fake bid of the price of an item up, right, in order to create demand so that other people was like, wow, why is this thing being bid up so much? And then they'll buy it, right? But that's an auction. Now it's even worse because on the NFT network, they can create digital versions of themselves, like countless. You can't even, there's no limit to how many different, like I can create 10 different accounts of myself anonymously and just keep bidding myself up, buying my own art, and then selling it back to the next idiot that thinks that my art is somehow worth $10,000, right? Let's read this. Most huge sales are actually the sellers selling it to themselves under a different wallet. Try to grift others into thinking the token is worth more than it is, right? So basically, example, if you have a piece of art and that art is worth $0, you're gonna bid it up, right? You're gonna basically create another account of yourself, right? Sell it to yourself for $12,000. Now, after that, you go on your Twitter and say, wow, I just sold my art for $12,000 with a picture of the art. That's going to create FOMO. That's going to create hype. And now people all around your network's going to look and say, wow, what is this NFT? Like, I better hurry up and get in and buy it now before it goes to the moon, before it goes to $1 million. So then now the next idiot comes in and you're going to say, you know what? Don't worry about 12,000. I'll sell it to you for 8,000 discount right now. The guy's like, well, fuck, I better buy it now. It's on sale. This is my last chance. It's going to go to $1 million. He buys it for $8,000, and now guess what? You just essentially effectively turn a $0 piece of crap into an $8,000 investment, and that's basically what's going on in the NFT world today. Is people selling shit to themselves left and right. They just create a million different profile of themselves anonymously because you can't track who it is. Keep selling it back and forth. Oh, I just sold it for $1 million. Oh man, somebody just bought it from that guy for $2 million. Oh man, now it's at $5 million. Now the next idiot comes in and say, well, will you take $500,000 for it? Sure, man, I'll sell it to you for $500,000 right now, today. Bam, that's what happens. That's wash sale, okay? The next point. Look, the simple supply and demand dynamic, okay? I'm not going to get into too deep in this, but basically with Bitcoin, there's no such thing as a demand and supply elasticity, meaning that no matter how expensive Bitcoin's price goes up, you can't make more Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, and I don't care what you do. You can put $1 trillion worth into the network and try to mine more Bitcoin. You won't be able to because the network caps at that rate, and you cannot change the consensus. You cannot change that algorithm to where I can't make an extra Bitcoin for myself. No, you cannot. But with NFTs, there is. With NFTs, there is. So if you read this article right here, a similar dynamic is about to happen to NFT. There's a limited amount of buyers. This contrasts to Bitcoin happening, which limits the supply, right? Like I just said. We'll see an explosion of new NFTs enter the market as the market produces a lot of them. And then everyone will start looking for new sources of revenue. And if the price continue to go up, the supply will not increase a little, but a lot. Because if I tell you right now, hey, NFT market's going up. Like you see it right now, today as it is. Everybody and their mama wants to create an NFT. Everybody and their mama. And guess what? The supply is going to go up crazy. And the demand is eventually just going to taper down. Because now you're looking, you're like, well, damn, everybody has an NFT. I don't want to buy one. Like, why would I want to buy one? It's not that rare. It's not that scarce anymore. So eventually it's going to reach what's called a saturation point, and then it's going to crash. And this happened so many times before. The ICO crashed back in 2018. The crypto kitties, and we'll get into that later. All right, so let's go to the next point. Liquidity issues. The liquidity is very low for a lot of these tokens, right? It's not like Bitcoin. There's $1 trillion market cap in Bitcoin, meaning at any time, if you want to sell all your Bitcoin, there's always someone willing to buy it from you. With NFT, there's no liquidity, meaning that if you want to exit, there's no one wants to buy that from you. You have to find someone to buy that individual piece of art from you. It's an individual basis being sold and bought separately. It's not, there's no exchanges that you can go on and be like, oh, I'm gonna sell you this. No, there's this. Imagine if the market starts crashing. How are you gonna get out? You can't get out. No one wants to buy your let's say your NFT was originally listed for $10,000. Now the market for NFT all of a sudden one day just start crashing for whatever reason, right? And you're like, okay, fine, I'll just sell it for $3,000. No one's gonna buy it from you. No one. You're not gonna find anyone to buy it from you. There's no exchange for that. It's gonna go all the way down to zero. Now you're just left with $0 after you just paid $10,000 for this NFT, right? So that's what it is. The friction of selling will make flipping, trading, and liquidating that much harder. That's liquidity. And that's a very, very basic concept when it comes to buying and selling on any exchanges, on any market. And NFT just does not have the volume. They just don't have the liquidity required for you to be able to get in and out. And you're just going to keep holding the bag. Now, the last point, the users are able to mint NFTs on a variety of different blockchain, okay? And now, so like I said before, you can basically take one NFT. Let's say you take this one, right? One of these crypto punk or whatever, a Bored Ape. You can right click, right? Save the picture of this monkey, right? And then change it up a little bit. Let's say I change the color from green to yellow. Now he got yellow skin with another tattoo on his neck right here. And this thing is on the Ethereum blockchain. I'll take the same exact picture, go on Solana, put it on the Solana blockchain and sell it. Now I just created artificial supply, right? I just created an extra copy of this thing without doing any work. What does that do? It drives down the price of this thing because the supply has now doubled out of nowhere. And imagine doing that 10 times, 12 times, 15 times. It's like scammers stealing from scammers, like thieves stealing from thieves. That's what happens. So that's exactly like you're forgetting that these things are easily replicable. Even if I don't go with the whole, I can right click, there's different blockchains I can go on and sell it from, okay? And not only that, now you're risking that particular blockchain. Like now if you have an NFT on the Ethereum network, if the Ethereum network goes down, what happened to your NFT? So now you have an extra layer of risk on top of that, right? Now let's compare that to a real piece of collectible, okay? Now let's talk about the Mona Lisa. If you read this article right here, this one sentence, they can imitate, look, so hold on, right here. The portrait was once more brightly colored than it is today. It's colored with varnish, perhaps to protect it from the moisture of the bath in which it was hung at fountain blue, which has darkened and turned the painting slightly greenish. But it is this very varnish that gives us the best mean of authenticating the painting. One can imitate or copy a painting to perfection, but the crack glitter, all the tiny cracks in the painting's varnish, which are documented very clearly in the photographs, cannot be recreated artificially. There's no doubt that this painting was the original Da Vinci. So that's what happened when you have a physical form of art, like the Mona Lisa, for example. You can verify, you can look, and you can say, wow, yeah, this is the real thing. You can't replicate that. You can't replicate these cracks. You can't replicate these varnishes or whatever that means. I'm not an art expert, but I can read between the lines, right? With a digital item, there's no such thing. You can right-click, copy, put it on the blockchain, sell it again and again and again and again. And have you noticed a lot of these paintings, these famous paintings, their value doesn't go up until after the artist dies? Now, why? Why is that? Because after the artist dies, there's a guarantee that there's no more of this art is going to be created. You know that this piece of painting he's not going to draw another one, right? That's scarcity. That's true scarcity. You can't do that with NFTs. If whoever created this Bored Ape crypto punk right here, if he's still alive, he's going to create another one. Or it doesn't even have to be him. I could do it. I could right click this, sell another one on a different blockchain. And then somebody else could go and right click my shit and sell it on their blockchain. There's no guarantee. There's nothing to guarantee the scarcity of this item. Nothing at all. So then you just create a bunch of these, right? Like you sell this for $14 on Amazon, $10 on Amazon, $47 on Staples. It's just a bunch of copies, and it never ends, right? So basically, Lynn Alden has this very good point. She said an NFT is like having a signed copy of a book. The book itself is not scarce, but a signed version kind of is, right? Like kind of. Like if I have a Harry Potter book and I get J.K. Rowling to sign it for me, okay, my book has some kind of scarcity to it. But then the signature is only as good as the perceived longevity and the importance of the blockchain, meaning that my signature is only as good as whether or not J.K. Rowling decides to sign 10 more copies tomorrow, 1,000 more copies tomorrow, who the fuck knows? And as long as she's alive, how do I know that she won't keep doing that? How does my signed copy of the book, warrant millions of dollars worth of value like an NFT these days does? It doesn't. It doesn't, right? And then the last point. You can steal these NFTs left and right, and it's happening everywhere. NFT minters are often art thieves, minting others' work and trying to spin a profit. The anonymous nature of NFTs makes it hard to crack down on, and the moderation is very poor in these communities, right? And that's basically all these articles that I highlighted, artists shut down because people keep stealing their work. oh, look, this guy, he's a comic artist, Leon Sharp. He worked for DC. He's sick and tired of having his work stolen. He shut down his entire gallery because people keep stealing my art and making NFTs. It's a huge problem. Many NFTs circulating online are a result of copyright theft, and there's nobody regulating this shit. That's despite the fact that he's working with NFT to develop an alert system. He can't and shouldn't have to report each one and make a case, but just consistently ignore. It's just sad and frustrating. And that's basically the story here. Over the past month, artists and newcomers complaining about their work being transformed and sold at crazy prices without their permission, right? Same here. Artists report discovering their work is being stolen and sold at NFT. You don't see this with Bitcoin. People can't steal my Bitcoin without, you know what I'm saying? They can't do that. Well, they can hack my Bitcoin, but that's my fault for not, having the right security measure. That's my fault, right? For being careless, just like everything else. Like if I have a painting of the original Mona Lisa in my house and I don't keep it in a safe and I don't have people guarding it with guns and people steal it from me, that's my fault. But you don't see people saying this with Bitcoin. You don't see people say, oh, they say there's only 21 million Bitcoin, but now I found out there's 22 million circulating over here on this blockchain. Never. Because of proof of work. Once again, it goes back to that word, proof of work, a black belt. It takes proof of work. Without proof of work, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing, okay? Once again, people are stealing over tens of thousands of dollars NFTs and victims can't do anything about it. No shit. You can't, right? Same here. And just the last point, guys, this is something called a digital cats. This is back then in 2018. It's called a crypto kitties. It's just like NFT today, and it came and went. It basically exploded and died. It was $41 a few months ago, an average cat that's now closer to $5. Meanwhile, the transaction has fallen more than tenfold from 1.3 million to 115,000 in May, and this is 2018. And if you look at the digital cats now, the volume is even lower than that. It just died. It's the same as NFT. They even compared it to NFTs, right? Using the Ethereum blockchain, the CryptoKitty fans could show that they alone control the unique crypto assets, which help inflate the value of the cats. Reportedly, one of them even sold for over $100,000. Does that sound familiar to you? Yes. So basically, that's the point. That's the point today, okay? Is that NFTs are not viable investment, especially now that it's been hyped up so much and everybody and their mama has one and they want to sell you, okay? It's going to crash. There's no doubt about it. You can't tell me that an Ether rock has sold for millions of dollars or whatever it was and tell me that this is sustainable. Somebody sold this for millions of dollars. Like, this is crazy, guys. This is crazy. A picture of a rock. Somebody paid $1.3 million for a picture of a rock NFT. Like, this is when you know that you need to get the fuck out, or you need to just stay the fuck out, because it's getting really frothy, and this is the mania phase of the market right before it crashes. And watch, this video is going to age very well. And I know a lot of you guys don't want to hear this because you guys probably have an NFT, but guys, just start thinking for yourself. I listed out some of the reasons why NFT is not viable investments. Now, I see a lot of people actually using it as like a membership kind of situation to where like, oh, if you buy this NFT, you get this piece of art and you also get to, have lifetime membership at my account that teaches you this and that and whatever. And you can sell it later on to the next person if you want, blah, blah. Look, that's fine. I'm all for it. Like, if people want to make money doing that, I'm all for it, right? You do what you got to do. Basically, you're selling a membership, right? But you just kind of throwing an NFT buzzword on there in order to create more buzz and hype, and that's fine. But know what you're doing. You're just selling a membership. If one of you guys want to subscribe to one of those models and you want to buy one of those NFT/membership to a course or somebody that you admire or somebody that you look up to or whatever, that's fine. But just know that you're buying a membership. And it's probably overvalued because now they're putting the word NFT on it, right? And don't expect to be able to sell it to the next person. If you're thinking about, oh, I'm just gonna buy it now and then I'll probably sell it 10 times in the future, don't think like that, okay? I don't know anyone in real life that made millions of dollars off NFTs. Everybody say they made millions of dollars on NFTs, but that's paper money, okay? Meaning that they haven't been able to cash out yet. And until I see someone show me true proof that they made money off NFTs and whatever, and even then, that's just one person. Like, so what? You probably sold it, like wash trading. You sell it to yourself and then you suck the next idiot into it. Whatever, all right? This video's going on long enough, guys. It's been a long one. Thank you for sticking around. I'm just here to try to educate you guys the best that I can in my ability based on what I know with Bitcoin and blockchain and all that. Bitcoin's the only thing, guys. Honestly, it's the only thing that has proof of work, and that's that. Everything else is just a speculation and hype at this point. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you next time.